Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. Now, as winter approaches, millions in Ukraine face freezing temperatures without reliable power or heating, while ongoing attacks on energy and transport infrastructure make daily life even more precarious. Now we'll explore how communities are coping and the efforts to provide critical aid with Jose Gomez Gonzalez, Director of Polish Humanitarian Action in Ukraine, who joins us now. Thanks so much for coming by here to Warsaw.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Sasha.
Let's begin with winter preparations. I mean, this is always one of the toughest times for many people, especially in Ukraine. How's your organization? How's the aid right now going there, flowing there? How are you preparing people on the ground?
Yeah, you know, Ukraine is entering in the fourth winter in this war, and now one of the most important things that we are missing is regarding infrastructure, electrical infrastructure and power facilities. You know, this year they have been destroyed almost 70 energy facilities. So facing the winter is going to be very relevant because of the heating, because of the schools, because of the for preparing the winter. I would say that now we are working on supporting the rehabilitation of schools, because children have to go back to the school even if they are in basements, but they need to, and also support for hospitals, for energy, power for hospitals also, and wood for warm the houses, the civilian houses also. And of course we are working in cash for transfer, cash for people support in medicines, in food, in rental areas.
So, I mean, you mentioned also energy, and that's one of those crises at the moment. I mean, the Russians continue to attack infrastructure, as you said, for now several winters. That's not only dangerous, that's challenging, but how are you, let's say, how do ordinary Ukrainians cope with that? I mean, it's at the same time, it's never something to get used to, but what are you seeing on the ground, and what, like, let's say, tangibly are you doing to help those people? I mean, is it certain generators, or what are you providing them tangibly?
Yeah, there are some oblasts, especially in the east, that are facing like 12 hours per day of cuts of energy, so it's very difficult in winter to cope with that. And Polish Humanitarian Action is working with generations at communitarian level, also offering boots and fuel, you know, so people can at least move a little bit and feel more warm, because you know that it's not only the situation of the energy. If people doesn't have, they are going to move, and we are going to have more IDPs. And it's very difficult already to cope with the IDPs we already have in Ukraine. You know, so it's not only the problem of the lack of energy, that of course there is, you know, in all the country, but especially in the oblast, but also the consequences of that, or people get sick, more few, and there are not really a lot of hospitals, you know, so it's not only about energy, it's that means and the impact that have at social level, at human level.
On that human level, Maria, tell me a bit more, because this in particular, I imagine, is also very difficult for the elderly, vulnerable groups, for children. What are you seeing there, and how are you helping there, and how can others potentially help?
Yeah, and are different situations, children and elderly, right? And elderly people, the people who stay in there, who didn't want to move, they are not going to move. You know, and they are mainly women, and they have probably sons or brothers that are serving in the front line, so that's why they are not going to move from there. And they are really alone. They are living in a very lonely situation. Sometimes they live in a hard-to-reach area, so we have to work with local organizations so we can support these people with, again, with food, with medicines, with heating, with generators at communitarian level, as I said. But for example, for the children, if we think in Ukrainian children like 9, 10 years, they had COVID, and then they have this war, so probably most of the children in the frontline areas never have gone to school. You know, so they are trying to do it online, but that we are trying, I would say that international community together, we are trying to create or to support the construction of basement and shelters so children can go back to the school, because it's not only learning and the lacks of competencies they are having, it's also that they cannot socialize between them. You know, they are living in a very particular and different situation. No one of us has lived in that. You know, in the COVID we were like, oh, this is weird, but they lived together after that, this war, this long, scary invasion.
You also mentioned about partnerships. I mean, your organization, aid organizations. Tell us a bit more about how that's with local partners, NGOs, volunteers, not just from abroad, but also local Ukrainians. Tell us a bit more about how that works. I mean, it's also a big area to cover. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of the main things is supporting local organizations, because local organizations are the ones who have been there since the beginning, since 2014. They know the population trusts them. They can go again to hard to reach areas because they live there, they know the population, they know what is the life of the people and what is happening. That of course is amazing to support international organizations. Donors have to do that all around the world. But when you support a local organization, you are establishing capacities for the rest of the years, for the next rehabilitation, reconstruction, for the nexus, for the development, and you are preparing the organization for the, we hope, not so far, adhesion of Ukraine to the European Union. You know, so it's very important to establish local capacities and to transfer the funds to local organizations and transfer the capability so they can be the real leaders in the next years in the country.
So I suppose that idea of resilience versus dependence.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask a very direct question as well. I mean, we see these images, we cover this war, obviously what's going on, we see the terrible things being committed by the Russians. In your mind, you're on the ground, you're in Kiev, you're around the country in Ukraine. Is Ukraine, as its civilian population, are they in any way, as much as they can be, are they ready for this winter in your mind? Do they have what they need?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, at resilience level they are, you know, but the humanitarian plan is funded like 45%. I mean, the needs have been increased, but the funds to meet the needs are not enough. So I wouldn't say that we are really, I think we are trying to work very, very hard to get the funds that we need to meet the needs for this winter. But we have been saying already that this winter is going to be worse than the past winter, so it seems that it's going to be very hard.
Mm-hmm. And what's the immediate thing in your professional opinion? What is needed right now? I mean, not as we get even colder and colder and it gets deeper in the winter. Now there's still that window. Right now there's a bit of time.
Yeah.
What's the immediate need right now that you see, which is the greatest challenge for you?
Yeah, funds for winterization, specifically cash for transfer. Now we are late, as you say, so transfer money, throw vouchers to the people so they can buy the things for heating, boots, fire boots. I think is one of the main needs. But I would say that mental support, psycho-mental support is really necessary. I mean, for everybody, you know, because all the people has been living this during many years. It's very long conflict. So the psychological support is very, very important also.
Tell me a bit more about this, because this is something where PH is involved in, the psychosocial centers. Tell a bit more about that work that entails and how you're helping people there on the ground.
Yeah. In the psychosocial centers, we work in the rehabilitation also, because most of them has been damaged. So we try to create like a temporary house for people for IDPs, internal displaced people. And we work with them at protection level, you know, legal advisors regarding papers, because a lot of the people has to run from their houses without papers. You know, we need to work in paperwork and giving psychosocial support, even in communitarian groups, because it's very, you can imagine the levels of stress and depression people are facing for everything that they have lost, but also because it's still working. The war is like it's not gonna finish never. So in this community center, so they not only can live together again, you know, in different families, in beautiful places, but also they have this support, they have food, the children can continue going to the school, what is amazing. So these community centers, I think, is one of the best things that PAH is doing in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. And also looking a little bit, if there's, I think hopefully there is cause to hope somewhere, where do you see that in the future? I mean, where do you see some of the optimism here a little bit in the work that you do? Is there hope on the ground? What's something that has stayed with you? And just really briefly as well, I want to ask you on your own story, I mean, how you also were involved. So just tell us a bit both of those things.
Yeah, I would say that the optimist is, Ukrainians are optimists, you know, but it's depending of the external forces, you know, it depends what president says what, so we think that we are going to be supported, or maybe no, or maybe everybody is going to disappear and we are not going to have support anymore, so this is unstable. But I would say that with the situation that we have now, and the European Union talking about the repatriation support, all the programs that they want to implement in Ukraine, trying to cover all the funds that you said with the disappearation of the USAID, it affected really a lot to Ukraine. So European Union, it seems, wants to cover this hole, and this is we need to see it, but we think it's a very good news, even if the repatriation is a very complicated issue. Yeah, and I arrived to Ukraine. I have been working 22 years in Latin America in humanitarian and cooperation and development. And yes, in one point, I decided that I wanted to go to work as a purely humanitarian. It could be in Afghanistan, in Syria, Gaza or Ukraine, and I had the opportunity to work in Ukraine, and I am there learning really a lot. I'm very surprised with the resilience of the Ukrainian people.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also goes to show for many, if they want to get involved as well, if they want to help, that there are those people like yourself and others, Ukrainians and others on the ground helping, and there's much to be done. So look, thank you so much, Maria. That was our guest here this morning, Maria Jose Gomez Gonzalez. Really appreciate all your time. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting PAH.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay tuned, much more come up right here on TVP World.